Hello friends and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV and we will be through 2025. 2026 we start the KJV. We want to read as many different versions of the Bible as we can. This is the one we start with because we're going to compare them to each other. And those will be separate videos. Now, in this video, we are doing Exodus chapter 22, which is verses 1 through 31. So let's get together and get on it, right? So protection of property. So for a recap, we are getting basically what is the first rough draft of the Jewish Constitution, because they are stating what the Mosaic laws are. And that's what these will become to be known, the Mosaic laws. It's beyond just the 10 Commandments, the Mosaic laws. That's an important thing to note. So, chapter 22, verse 1. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he must pay back 5 head of cattle for ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. Because first replace what it was, and then you stole it, and you killed it. So, now you got to pay with interest, if you're thinking about it. If a thief is caught breaking in and is struck so that he dies, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, he is guilty of bloodshed. So, we got a footnote of A, which is or if he strikes him after sunrise. So specifically, if he strikes him after sunrise, then he dies. He's, and he dies, and he's guilty of bloodshed. If it's after sunrise. So only in the light of day is it a sin. You see what and we're looking for the moral equivocation. A thief must certainly make restitution, but if he has nothing, he must be sold to pay for his theft. Okay. If the stolen animal is found alive in his possession, whether ox or donkey or sheep, he must pay back double. So give them back their possessions, and no, you have to go give them another, which is really just going to encourage him to go steal some more. So if a man grazes his livestock in a field or a vineyard and lets them stray, and they graze in another man's field, he must make restitution from the best of his own field or vineyard. So you got to, you ate their feed, so you're paying back feed for feed. So it's still the same, like eye for an eye kind of thing. If a fire breaks out and spreads into thorn bushes so that it burns shocks of grains or standing grain or the whole field, the one who started the fire must make restitution. Okay, yeah, you're held consequences. You can't just randomly start fires these days either. We call that arson. Then even if it was an intentional burn and you destroy someone else's property, you still have to make restitution. There are consequences for those actions. Different kinds of consequences based upon your intention, right? So, if a man gives his neighbor silver or goods for safekeeping, and they are stolen from the neighbor's house, the thief, if he is caught, must pay back double. Okay? But if the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before the judges to determine whether he has laid his hands on the other man's property. Okay, so they're trying to decide, is he actually, because you gave him the silver, so you kind of took that risk. So did he steal it, or was it circumstances beyond his control? Like, did he do things? Did he help it get stolen, or didn't he? So now they want, somebody higher up with discernment. So I get that. Got to sort of like, now you got to take it to the courthouse, if you will. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any other lost property about which someone says, "This is mine," both parties are to bring their cases before the judges. It's okay. Don't try to settle any disputes on your own. The one to whom the judges declares guilty must pay back double to his neighbor. C. Whom God declares guilty. Okay. Because the judges is also with a footnote of B, because I didn't read that, is before God. The judges have a way of discerning God's will, is what they're implying there. Let's see. Now we're on verse 10. If a man gives a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or any other animal to his neighbor for safekeeping, and it dies or is injured, so not just silver, okay, not just this worldly possession too, or it is taken when no one is looking, the issue between them will be settled by taking an oath before the Lord that the neighbor did not lay hands on the other person's property. The owner is to accept this, and no restitution is required. Okay, well, that's very specific. But if the animal was stolen from the neighbor, he must make restitution to the owner. Okay. So you can say that because in the first case, he gave it to his neighbor for safekeeping. Whereas in the second one, it's a case of he's saying, I'm not responsible for what happened to it. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, he shall bring the remains as evidence, and he will not be required to pay for the torn animal. Well, that makes sense too. If a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, he must make restitution. Okay. But if the owner is with the animal, the borrower will not have to pay because he was there to keep track of his own property. Gotcha. The animal was hired. The money paid for the hire covers the loss. Okay. Social responsibility. If a man seduces a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price, and she shall be his wife. Yep. Okay. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride price for virgins. He just doesn't get the wife. Because this allows the father to protect their daughter from would-be ne'er-do-wells, from their own poor judgment, if they so wish. Do not allow a sorcerer to live. Well, that's pretty specific. Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal must be put to death. Right, okay. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than the Lord must be destroyed. Okay, D. The Hebrew term refers to the irrevocable giving over of things or a person to the Lord, often by totally destroying them. Like, we will, cremate you, destroy you. Because that's usually what because it's what they do with the animal sacrifices. It's down to ash. Do not mistreat an alien or oppress him, for you were aliens in Egypt. Okay? You should know right there that means that Solomon will definitely break Mosaic law. See. Do not take advantage of a widow or an orphan. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not be like a moneylender. Charge him no interest. Ooh. Or excessive interest. So, if you're going to charge him any interest, it can't be excessive. In this version, it says no interest. If you take your neighbor's coat as a pledge, return it to him by sunset, because his cloak is the only covering he has for his body. What else will he sleep in? When he cries out to me, I will hear, for I am compassionate. So then you're going to get in trouble for being a jerk. Do not blaspheme God or curse the ruler of your people. Okay, F. I don't know why it wants to give us do not revile the judges. Okay, so that feels hinky. Do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. Okay. The meaning of this in Hebrew is uncertain. Vats is uncertain. So they're making an educated assumption, I guess. You must give me the firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day. So, in that case, he's talking about circumcision. He wants all the sons to be circumcised. And his firstborns, he really wants the firstborn sons to be dedicated to him. Like if you were going to choose someone for the priestly caste, they're his. The firstborns, not the secondborns. And then we have verse 31 to the last one. You are to be my holy people, so do not eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs. This makes more sense to me. I wouldn't necessarily, I would probably leave it for the wild animals or clean it up. I don't know that I would just give it to my dog. But in today's society, we tend to treat our our plants are pets, and our pets we treat like kids. You see that? And then kids are meant to be treated, with extra special care and guidance. Even more so, because they're tiny people. Now, I've heard other people give it a different analogy, but no, I like children. So whether I've had any or not doesn't matter. I like them. I love them, really. I tend to get along better with children than I do with some adults out there, because there are some adults out there who definitely have less maturity than some of the children I know. Until next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy, and I'm an ordained minister. We're in Bible study. We are in the NIV, and we will be through 2025. In 2026, we'll start the KJV. The objective is to read as many versions of the Bible as I can. Now, I'm not going to be able to read all of them, I think, because there are 405 different versions of the Bible as of right now, and that's far too many. So it has to be limited to what I can manage to read. So, especially if I'm going to record videos for every single one of them, right? That's a lot of videos. So right now, we are in Exodus, chapter 23. We are in we're going to do the whole chapter 23. So we're doing verses 1 through, it looks like, 33. So let's jump in. For a recap, we are at the place where we were finding out what the Mosaic Law actually is, because it's more than just the Ten Commandments. You start seeing how you can almost see the debate going on. Like they're sitting there and they're writing things down, and the people who are going to be like judges, or we're going to have like household elders, as well as Aaron and Moses, and the conversation with God, and having these like, but what about this thing? All right, fine, that thing too. Like, because some of it is just sort of like somebody thought up some ridiculous thing and asked a question, and God gave an answer, so they wrote it down because God gave an answer, so now it's law. You have to look at it from the lens of the maturity of the people asking the question. They've been slaves for 430 years. They don't know how to be free people. They're trying to have these hardcore things that they can follow really strict the way they could when they had somebody else telling them what to do in every moment of their life. So, laws of justice and mercy, chapter 23, verse 1. Do not spread false reports. So, no fake news. Do not help a wicked man by being a malicious witness. So, no lying on the stand for our modern day equivalent, okay? Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. So also, like, it means that, that whole thing your parents told you was, and if they all jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you? Right? Same kind of thing. Just because they're not going to go, they're going to go do that crazy thing doesn't mean you have to go do that crazy thing. Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd. Be honest, even if you're in front of a big group of people. Can you imagine? And do not show favoritism to a poor man in his lawsuit. So, no excuse when standing in front of like the court of law to lie. That's really, we still hold to that true now. That is called perjury. And it does get you jail time. It's not recommended. I give that a thumbs down to perjury, okay? If you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to take it back to him. I don't really have ox and donkey in this neighborhood, but I do this with people's dogs that manage to get out of their yard, so check, yeah. If you see the donkey of someone who hates you fallen down under its load, do not leave it there. Be sure to help him with it. Oh. So, because it's the donkey who's being punished for your dislike of that human being. Show some compassion to this poor animal that has to work for that jerk that you don't even like. You should be able to manage it. Do not deny justice to your poor people in their lawsuits. So you can't favor the rich either. Just you can't favor the poor. No favoritism, in case you're trying to follow along at home. Have nothing to do with a false charge, and do not put an innocent or honest person to death, for I will not acquit the guilty. Okay. So he's going to always make sure that the guilty get persecuted. So you don't need to create charges for something to happen to somebody. He's like, I got that. Don't come up with crap. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see and twist the words of the righteous. So, don't take gifts from people that you don't like, how they conduct their moral conduct in whatever that subject matter is, because I don't know why they would be giving you gifts, because there's plenty of legitimate times people could be trying to give you a gift that doesn't have to do with corruption. Do not oppress an alien. You yourselves know how it feels to be aliens, because you were aliens in Egypt. So, All right? Put yourself in the shoes of another person. Got it? Sabbath laws. For 6 years, you are to sow your fields and harvest the crops. But during the 7th year, let the land lie unplowed and unused. We call that fallow these days. Then the poor among your people may get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what they leave. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. Got it? 6 days do your work, but on the 7th day do not work, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the slave born in your household and the alien as well may be refreshed. So everybody gets a rest. And remember, again, that's Saturday, okay? Because the week starts on Sunday, not Monday. Be careful to do everything I have said to you. Do not invoke the names of other gods. Do not let them be heard on your lips. So, at no point, no matter what eventually happens in the Temple of Solomon, were they ever supposed to sacrifice or even say the word or invoke or call in or praise any other god. Ever. The 3 annual festivals. This is verse 14. 3 times a year you are to celebrate a festival to me. Celebrate the festival of the unleavened bread. We call that Passover. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Abib, for in that a month you came out of Egypt. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. So, okay. Can't skip Passover. And I don't know any Jew that would, honestly. For us, Christians, Passover is the Last Supper. Passover is the Last Supper. So when we're celebrating like Easter, it's not quite the same because it's not the same because it's not the same. But it's a big deal for us. To say it's exactly the same wouldn't be, because for them, so like Hanukkah isn't as big of a deal in any of the Jewish households I ever grew up being around. It wasn't as huge of a celebration and as big as a fuss as what Christians make of Christmas. But Easter, because Easter is about the passing of our Messiah and not the birth of our Messiah, tends to be more of a solemn, right? Now, yeah, you can have Easter eggs and celebrations, so it depends on how you celebrate, but it's not as big of a splashy thing as Christmas. It's just not done on the same level. So, Passover is a very big celebration because it is we got to live. God saved our lives. Isn't it amazing? Celebration. Okay. Celebrate, verse 16. Celebrate the feast of the harvest with the first fruits of the crops you sow in your field. Okay. So that almost every farm-based, you can go to every ancient culture that was around during these time frames. They have some feast of the harvest too. We tend to think of that in America as Thanksgiving. So, celebrate the feast of the ingathering at the end of year when you gather your crops and the crops from the field. So, harvest festival. 3 times a year, all the men are to appear before the sovereign Lord. Do not offer the blood of sacrifice to me along with anything containing yeast. The fat of my festival offerings must not be kept until morning, so burn them all up. Bring the best of the first fruits of all of your soil to the house of the Lord your God. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. That's just insulting. an angel, God's angel, to prepare the way. See, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and bring you to the place I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. Okay. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies and will oppose those who oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Do not bow down before their gods or worship them or follow their practices. So I'm going to have to say this is probably the Archangel Michael that he sent ahead, because that's the war one. I mean, that's who threw Satan down, right? So I can't think of anybody else better. Of course, Uriel, maybe, because he also, think of it as Michael's, second in command, if you will, if they were military. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. Worship the Lord your God, and his blessings will be on your food and water. I will take away sicknesses from among you, and none will miscarry or be barren in your land. I will give you a full lifespan. I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. I will make all your enemies turn their backs and run. I will send the hornets ahead of you to drive out the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites out of your way. But I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land would become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little, I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. So they have to have enough people to keep it safe from them coming back. I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the desert to the river sea. That's the Euphrates, because that's the biggest river, so it's the river. I will hand over to you the people who live in the land, and will drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them or with their gods. So no promises for anything. You break any of this, and now you've broken the covenant, and you're subject to penance. Do not let them live in your land, or they will cause you to sin against me, because the worship of their gods will certainly be a snare for you. So he pre-warned what the problems were. And there's going to be a reason for that, and that is going to be because they're going to find a lot of similarities in the pantheon of one thing and the pantheon of another, because the pantheons tend to have different names for similar energies that they are describing and calling gods. I don't like to call them that. There's one God, the living God. He's up there. He's in here. He's everywhere. And he made the Messiah. And that's who was talking in here. All the rest of that stuff, I don't know what that is. But it isn't God. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. We're in Bible study. Yeah, we're in the Niv. If you have very strong emotions about that, understand. I don't have very strong emotions. I started with this one. My intention for this channel is every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to, or as long as I physically can, because however that works out. I'm gonna get up, and I'm gonna put my face on the internet reading different passages from the Bible of all the versions. I'm not gonna read this one version over and over again. I don't really do that. In fact, I have a bunch of books that I actually have a collection of that I'm going to actually give away to people who will enjoy reading them, because I'm not going to reread them. So I don't need to keep them. Let someone else enjoy them instead. Like the local library, maybe even send them off to a prison. I don't know. Whatever, however I'm going to donate them, I'm going to donate them to someplace. And, make room. Because I'm going to need to buy more versions of the Bible. So there's a lot, though. I looked that up. There's like 400 different versions of the Bible. So it's like, I don't have enough time in my lifetime to go through and read all those different versions. So, I'm going to pick and choose through things. Okay? Because I don't even have the new KJV. I just have the old KJV, apparently, because it's like from the 1870s or something. So I'm like, I don't know what the book's missing. I got to read it to find out. Got to have something to start with so you can compare. This is the one that seems to get the most emotional reaction. So we're probably, when we get to the other ones, going to be talking about, but in the NIV, they said this BS, right? So, it's probably going to happen. I've already done it. Okay. Chapter 20, but I'm going to do that with every version. Matthew. We're in the book of Matthew in the NIV. We're doing chapter 24, which is a very long chapter. Okay. It's 50 verses. So here we go. Signs of the end of the age. Actually, because if this is too long, the wrong song gets on there in the background, then things start getting copyrighted. Not in the United States, but in other countries. Because, much spreading of the good news is possible when you're a minister. That's your objective. All right. Signs of the end of an age. Chapter 24, verse 1. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came to him and called his attention to its buildings. Do you see all these things? He asked. I tell you the truth. Not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. That's true. That's actually very true. That happened. Because sitting on top of the temple now is the Dome of the Rock. So Jesus was predicting the future. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen? And what will be a sign of your coming and the end of your age? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, or Messiah. And that's the same when we encounter it in verse 23. And will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Okay? Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nations will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places, and all these things are the beginning of birthing pains. So man's going to still do what man does and create destruction where man creates destruction, because that's the nature of man. And I mean that like mankind, not gender biased. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. You will be hated by all nations because of me. He's talking about Christians in general here. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. Many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But he who stands firm in the end will be saved. And the gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when most of the world has heard about Christianity, which means we're already there, the end of the world can come. So at any time, because we're already in this place. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, be Daniel chapter 9 verse 27, chapter 11 verse 31, chapter 12 verse 11, which means to God that means something very specific, and we should be paying attention to that. Okay. Spoken through the prophet Daniel. Let the reader understand. Okay. I feel like this is like that moment in the never-ending story, which God keeps bringing up a lot in different places. I feel like this weekend, one of my assignments is to watch the never-ending story again. I mean, like, I'm an 80s kid. I own the never-ending story. It's over there. I can put it, like, even if the internet went out, as long as I had power, it wouldn't matter. I could still watch a never-ending story. Because, you know, I don't really watch my DVDs, but I haven't gotten rid of them. Then let those who are in Judah flee to the mountains. Let no one on the roof of his house go down to take anything out of his house. Let no one in the field go back to get his cloak. How dreadful it will be for those days for the pregnant and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be a great distress, unequal from the beginning of the world until now, and never equaled again. I wonder what they mean by the beginning of the world. Like, that's the part that alarms me. Because understand, the beginning of the world when it was inhabitable for humans, or the beginning of the world when it was a giant molten rock of things that all just flung together and everything was on fire and there's no way any life could have been supported at that time. How much the beginning of the world? If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. That is true. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. Okay? At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive you, to deceive even the elect. So even the leaders will be deceived, if that were possible. In our world, sure it is. Leaders are easily deceived. They're deceived by social media. See, I have told you ahead of time. So, no, if anyone tells you, there he is out in the desert, do not go out. Or here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east is visible even in the west, so there will be a coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. So wherever there's an opportunity to try to exploit, of course those who want to exploit will show up. I mean, that's true of anything. Any institution in the world where you have a place of unchecked power, you're going to attract creepy people who want to hurt others, and they want to find a loophole in which to do it. Yeah. Creepy people exist everywhere and have since the beginning of time. It's very unfortunate that they are so terrible and that humanity is still evolving into being a human being. Because you know when we're done and we're a human being? When we by default want to act like Jesus. We're a long ways from that. So we're still evolving as a species. Okay? That's important to remember. Verse 29. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. So we'll be doing a new moon. And the stars will fall from the sky. That's not good. But it could mean shooting stars. And the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Okay. So that could indicate an earthquake on Earth. Because, you know, if we're shaking, of course, it's going to look like space is shaking. See. Or we could see It's Isaiah 13:10 and 34:4. Okay, so it could be the earth is shaking, or maybe it's things moving around up there. I don't know what heavenly bodies, but we are supposed to have a nova, like a mini nova kind of thing. One of the stars, a strawberry nova. One of the stars, the one Beetlejuice. I'm not kidding, that's its name. It's spelled like Beetle Guys, but you pronounce it like Beetlejuice. Beetle Guys, to me, Beetlejuice. It's the shoulder in Orion. Because Orion's got the arrow. It's got the Sagittarius. It's got the shape, right, of the arrow. That's where they get it from in astrology. The astronomy and the astrology are overlapping. Remember that, because once upon a time they were together. Now they're separate. But if you follow that shape in the night sky, you're going to get two stars, one here, and then like a third one up here, because that represents kind of like its head. But this one that's this shoulder, it will, it's any day now, it's going to go supernova. It's the sun. So it's going to blow up that whole solar system, and it will look like a strawberry nebula in the night sky that we will be able to see with our naked eye. No telescope needed. That's how we'll know when it is. So you'll know when it happens. So it could be something like that, too, when the heavens are shaking. Because, it's going to have a repercussive force. It's not going to really affect us here because we're too far away. But we're going to see things look funny up there. Okay. Verse 30. At the time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky. I don't know if that's the star, the same star that led them. And all the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with great power and with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to another. Now learn this sign from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you will know that it, or he, is near, right at the door. I tell you the truth, this generation, or race, will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. I'm a person with a very heavy science background, and I love astronomy. I love all kinds of things. I love anything that tries to explain it. And then, of course, I love the Bible, right? Because this reading every version of the Bible I can get my hands on has been an objective since I was a child. Nobody gave it to me. He gave it to me. That's who gave it to me. Nobody else gave it to me. No living person walking around, because I wasn't raised by that kind of family, okay? So it just isn't really that way. There really wasn't a lot of people to be talking to me about this stuff. I found my ways, multiple ways, because I moved around a lot, multiple ways to different churches. I always found my way back to him. This, with the science overlapping with the religion, says we are looking for, because Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, who we think of as a scientist, but at his time would have called himself an alchemist, because they were one and the same. The mysticism overlaid on top of the science. Some of those symbols are the same in the mathematics, the physics of it. He got obsessed with revelations. A scientist got obsessed with revelations. They keep talking about the heavens and about the moon not being appearing or any, like, it's if a sun goes supernova. That's what it is. He was trying to calculate when our sun could go supernova. He was listening to what they were describing, applying science to it, and saying that's what he thinks it is. And he was trying to see with all the mathematics if he was correct. Now, I can't tell you whether or not he was, like, I don't do that kind of science. I'm not qualified to confirm or deny his calculations or anything he was saying. But it makes perfect sense to me, because I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking up there. I'm always looking up there. On my pictures that show up on the social media, they're of the sky, they're of clouds, they're of the moon, they're of all of it. When something's wrong, when it's our time, we're going to see the signs up there. They keep telling us that. The hour, the day and the hour unknown. I'm sorry this is the subject matter, but it's what he is talking about. It's the word of the Lord. Verse 36. No one knows about the day or the hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son. So Jesus is saying, I don't even really know when. Some manuscripts say, do not have nor the Son. So they're saying maybe Jesus knew, but so some people think Jesus knew. So we'll find that in the other versions. But only the Father. Well, we're always on divine timing. That's just how it is. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. He likes to show up in weather. That's how you really know when it's God. It's weather. Weather's always involved, or nature. Like when nature suddenly stampedes. Like, you know that scene in Jumanji? Or even better, when you're watching the movie Avatar, not Avatar, Aang Avatar, but Avatar like Avatar Way of the Water, and then, the first Avatar. When nature revolts and wild animals come in and start killing the invading terrible humans that are trying to take over this wild place, that's when it's God. Okay? That's all God. Because we can't make animals do that. That is when the poaching hunters are out there hunting one type of animal, and the wild lions in that habitat eat them, and we're like, well, you shouldn't have been poaching. It's God. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day that Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be in the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field. One will be taken and another left. 2 women will be grinding with a hand mill. One will be taken and the other left. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at the hour when you do not expect him. Well, so maybe all this stuff about the sky is just them faking us out. Because, faith is what gets you up there anyway. Who then is the faithful and the wise servant, whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household, to give them their food at the proper time? The Lord will provide. He says that. It will be good for the servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. Be ready, so you're ready to leave just like that. I tell you the truth. He will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away for a long time. And then he begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards. The master will come to find on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he was not aware of, and he will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and a gnashing of teeth. So it's like talking about hell. Although hell's not really part of the Jewish faith. There's a thing called Sheol, though, which sounds like what we describe as hell in the Protestant faith. Okay, so really one and the same. Not everybody gets to go when the sun goes supernova. He's going to collect, harvest all, separate the wheat from the chaff. That's what he says. And that's always how it works. Even in the Old Testament, when he was sending in armies and things, the people who submitted didn't get hurt. They survived. And it was their descendants that got to come back, and not the people who put up the resistance. Because when he tells you to surrender, he means surrender. So let's keep that in mind as we go about the world today. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I am an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we will be through 2025. In this video, we are in Psalms, Book 1, Psalm 29, and we're doing verses 1 through 11, or the whole psalm. It's a psalm of David. Ascribe to the Lord, O mighty ones. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The glory, the God of glory, thunders. The Lord thunders over the mighty waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is majestic. The voice of the Lord breaks the cedars. The Lord breaks in pieces the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Syrian like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord strikes with flashes of lightning. The voice of the Lord shakes the desert. The Lord shakes the desert of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists the oaks. He strips the forest bare. And in his temple all cry, glory! The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord is enthroned as king forever. The Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace. Sounds like David might have gone through some weather.